Hello there, you're watching Nightline. I'm Anita. News making the headlines. Prime Minister dissolves Parliament to pave way for GE-15. And Yang di-Pertuan Agong hopes GE-15 will be held before monsoon season. Begin with our headlining story. The 14th Parliament has been dissolved on Monday to make way for the impending 15th general election, GE-15. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob announced the dissolution of the Parliament in a special announcement at Perdana Putra at 3 p.m, hence putting an end to the rumours and speculations that have grown stronger since the end of September.
Bahawa pada tengah hari semalam, saya telah menghadap ke bawah duli Yang Maha Mulia Sri Paduka Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah dan menyembah warkah permintaan kepada Baginda mengenai pembubaran Parlimen ke-14. Selaras dengan perkara 40/2/B dan perkara 55/2 Perlembagaan Persekutuan, ke bawah duli Yang Maha Mulia Sri Paduka Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong telah bertindak menurut budi bicara Baginda dengan memperkenankan permintaan saya supaya Parlimen ke-14 dibubarkan pada hari ini, Isnin 10 Oktober 2022.
Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said that with this announcement, the mandate will be returned to the people. He added that the people's mandate is a powerful antidote to manifest political stability and to form a strong, stable and respected government after GE-15. He also said the announcement of the Parliament dissolution was made to put a stop to all the voices questioning the legitimacy of the alleged backdoor government. The Prime Minister also hoped that the people would use their power to elect a government capable of continuing the implementation of Budget 2023, maintaining political stability, reviving and strengthening the economy, as well as maintaining harmony and unity of the multi-religious and multiracial Malaysian family. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri has urged that all states, with the exception of Sabah, Sarawak, Melaka and Johor, should hold their state elections simultaneously with the national polls. The Prime Minister said this was necessary as it would smoothen the democratic process, save costs and prevent burdening the people with another election next year.
Meskipun beberapa buah negeri telah memutuskan untuk tidak membubarkan DUN masing-masing, ia wajar dilaksanakan serentak bagi memastikan rakyat tidak terbeban selain kelancaran proses demokrasi serta menjimatkan kos.
Previously, some states, including Selangor, Pulau Pinang and Kelantan, had indicated their intention not to dissolve their state assemblies in tandem with the general election. The 4 states mentioned by Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri have held elections within the past 2 years. In his special address, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri also said he hopes that the people will use their power to elect a government capable of continuing the implementation of Budget 2023, maintaining political stability, reviving and strengthening the economy, as well as maintaining harmony and unity of the multi-religious and multiracial Malaysian family. Reflecting on his term leading the nation as Prime Minister since August 21st last year, the Prime Minister also outlined the various efforts implemented by the government to relieve Malaysia from its trilemma, namely the COVID-19 pandemic, economic uncertainty and political turbulence. He said Malaysia entered the transition to endemic phase on April 1st, which enabled national borders to be reopened after over 2 years, adding that Malaysia was also recognised as the best Southeast Asian country in handling the pandemic's challenges. The pandemic that hit the country in early 2020 caused the country's gross domestic product, GDP, to contract by 5.5%, which was the biggest reduction since the 1997 to 1998 financial crisis. But the government, through responsive and proactive measures, managed to bring the country out of an economic crisis. More recently, the World Bank revised the country's GDP forecast for 2022 to 6.4%, compared to the 5.5% projected last March.
Alhamdulillah, dengan kehendak Yang Maha Berkuasa, kerajaan andal menghadapi mehnah dan tribulasi dalam perjuangan membawa negara ke landasan pemulihan kesihatan, politik dan ekonomi demi memulihkan kesejahteraan hidup keluarga Malaysia dan kemakmuran negara.
Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri was also grateful that out of 163 nations, Malaysia was recognised as the 18th most peaceful country in the world based on the Global Peace Index, GPI 2022, which was Malaysia's best achievement since the GPI was introduced in 2008. He said within just a year, the Keluarga Malaysia government raised the labour market to full employment, with the unemployment rate falling for 12 consecutive months from 4.8% in July 2021 to 3.7% in July 2022. Foreign direct investment, FDI, also increased significantly, and in the first 6 months of this year alone, Malaysia secured 47.4 billion ringgit in FDIs compared to the whole of last year when it only managed 48.1 billion ringgit. Total trade also increased by 33.1% to 1.87 trillion ringgit for the period of January to August 2022, compared to the 1.41 trillion ringgit in the previous year. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah said he had no choice but to give his consent for the dissolution of Parliament due to disappointing political developments. In a statement issued by the Controller of the Royal Household, Dato' Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, His Majesty also expressed hope that the Election Commission would conduct the 15th general election at the earliest, taking into account the northeast monsoon expected to begin mid-November. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong said the decision he made was to return the mandate to Malaysians in order for them to elect a new and stable government. He further stressed that a strong nation is crucial to ensure continued political stability and economic prosperity for the sake of the country and its people. His Majesty also called on the people to pray that the country and the people are always blessed and protected from any form of calamity. The Dewan Rakyat sitting for the third meeting, fifth term of the 14th Parliament that was scheduled for 32 days will now be cancelled due to the dissolution of Parliament by the Prime Minister. Dewan Rakyat Speaker Tan Sri Azhar Azizan Harun said all related activities, sessions and meetings scheduled earlier would also be cancelled. The process of holding the 15th general election will now come under the jurisdiction of the Election Commission, EC. The dates for nomination, early voting and polling, as well as other matters related to GE-15, will be decided upon by the EC. The third meeting of the 14th Parliament, which started on October 3rd, was scheduled for 32 days, had been in session for only 5 days. Much of its focus was on the tabling of the 2023 budget by Finance Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz last Friday. In the meantime, the Election Commission, EC, said the registration for postal voting for the GE-15 is now open. Its Secretary, Dato' Ikmalruddin Ishak, said the closing date will be notified later after the election dates have been determined in a special meeting. In a statement on Monday, Dato' Ikmalruddin said for Category 1A, which includes election staff and officers, police, army and media personnel, the applicants must download Borang 1A from the EC official website portal and fill in the details before submitting the form to the Electoral Division Manager Office. He added that for Category 1B, namely Malaysians living abroad, and Category 1C, which are agencies and organisations, the application must be done online.
12 pasukan berentap demi menjulang Piala Idaman. Kami bawakan kepada anda perlawanan tumpuan Liga Super 2022. Hanya di TV9 dan Astro 149.
Perikatan Nasional (PN) said it respects the decision to dissolve Parliament to pave the way for the 15th general election, GE-15, despite earlier calls for the general election to be held next year after the flood situation has recovered. PN Chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah had given his consent to dissolve Parliament after the Prime Minister had an audience with him on Sunday. Tan Sri Muhyiddin said although PN had earlier expressed its view after considering the current situation with the possibility of floods and other issues in the country, a decision has been taken in line with the Constitution. He said, as such, PN respects the decision and will now move towards preparing for the general election. PN had earlier recommended that Parliament be dissolved next year to allow the GE-15 to be held when the flood situation would recover after March. In other news, all three PAS-led states will not dissolve their state legislative assemblies to hold state polls in conjunction with the 15th general election. Kelantan Deputy Menteri Besar Datuk Muhammad Aman Nik Abdullah said the move not to dissolve the state assembly was in line with the party's earlier decision not to dissolve assemblies in states ruled by the Islamic Party.
Setakat ini keputusan parti lah, saya sebut sebab yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Presiden pun dan Timbalan Presiden pun telah keluar statement sebenarnya 2-3 hari lepas bahawa tiga-tiga negeri yang diperintah oleh PAS ini, Kelantan, Terengganu dan Kedah ni tidak akan dibubarkan kalau Parlimen dibubarkan dalam tempoh yang terdekat, maksudnya dalam tahun ini. Jadi setakat ni keputusan itu masih lagi kekal walaupun Parlimen bubar ini, tapi kita masih lagi mengekalkan keputusan untuk tidak bubar.
Besides Kelantan, the other two states ruled by PAS are Terengganu and Kedah. Meanwhile, Kelantan Menteri Besar Datuk Ahmad Yaakob said the PAS state government would adhere to whatever decision was made by its headquarters. PAS Deputy President Datuk Seri Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man recently said that PAS-led states would not dissolve their legislative assemblies simultaneously with Parliament if a general election is to be held soon. The Pulau Pinang state government will soon decide on its next course of action following the announcement on the dissolution of Parliament to make way for GE-15. Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow said among the matters that would need to be discussed included whether or not the State Assembly would be dissolved as well, notwithstanding what was announced before this.
Kita akan bincang, dan beberapa negeri pun sudah buat keputusan yang sama. Jadi kita perlu lihatlah perkembangan terkini menjelang penamaan calon. Masih banyak ruang untuk lihat apakah strategi dan tindakan yang terbaik.
So ada kemungkinan juga dia kalau boleh bubar, ada kemungkinan.
Terbuka untuk berbincangan, ya.
He said a decision would be made following the State DAP Committee meeting on Monday, as well as the DAP Central Executive Committee meeting on Tuesday. He said among the issues that will be examined is whether the State Legislative Assembly will be dissolved in the same period, considering whether to maintain the previous decision not to hold elections during the rainy season, and to discuss the issue of candidates at the parliamentary level. He said the 15th general election candidate, who would represent the party at the parliamentary level, is a priority over state candidates. Up next on Nightline, 7 missiles hit Zaporozhye city as Russia fires revenge strikes. News from the foreign front. When we return, don't go away. Front. Russia pounded cities across Ukraine on Monday morning, killing civilians and knocking out power and heat in apparent revenge strikes after President Vladimir Putin declared a blast on Russia's bridge to Crimea to be a terrorist attack. Kiev city police said at least 5 people had been killed and 12 wounded in the capital. The cruise missiles tore into busy intersections, parks and tourist sites in the centre of downtown Kiev with an intensity unseen even when Russian forces attempted to capture the capital early in the war. Explosions were also reported in Lviv, Ternopil and Zhytomyr in Ukraine's west, Dnipro and Kremenchuk in central Ukraine, Zaporozhye in the south and Kharkiv in the east. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the rush hour attacks appeared to have been deliberately timed to kill people as well as to knock out electricity. By mid-morning, Ukraine's defense ministry said Russia had fired 81 cruise missiles and Ukraine's air defenses had shot down 43 of them. In other news, Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha on Monday ordered law enforcement agencies to tighten gun ownership rules and crack down on drug use following a mass killing by an ex-policeman at a daycare centre that has left the nation in shock. Government spokesperson Anucha Burapachai said in a statement, Prayut has instructed authorities to proactively search and test for the use of illicit drugs among officials and communities and to step up treatment for addicts. He added that the Prime Minister has also ordered government registrars to revoke the gun licenses of registered owners who have reportedly behaved in a way that threatens society and creates chaos or causes unrest, alongside a crackdown on illegal gun sales, weapon smuggling and the use of illegal firearms. In the meantime, volunteers on Monday cleared out the lawn of a temple ground and layered bricks to build funeral pyres to be used for cremating the bodies of the Thai massacre victims on Tuesday in northeastern Nong Bua Lampur province. A landslide in Venezuela has left at least 25 people dead and more than 50 missing after a river overflowed on Sunday. The landslide came down in the Santos Miguelina municipality after days of heavy rainfall caused the 5 streams of the Las Tejerias River to overflow. Houses and businesses were destroyed in the deluge, which left the town of Las Tejerias covered with mud and debris, including felled trees, household items and mangled cars. More than 1,000 officials from the National Risk Management System and police officers are participating in the search and rescue operation as residents dug through the remains of battered homes looking for loved ones, while search teams arrived with dogs hoping to find survivors trapped in the rubble. President Nicolas Maduro had designated the area a disaster zone and had declared 3 days of mourning. North Korea's recent missile tests were tactical nuclear drills personally overseen by leader Kim Jong-un, adding the launches were a response to US-led joint military exercises in the region. The North's official Korean Central News Agency said North Korea decided to stage the simulation of an actual war to check and improve its war deterrence and send a warning to its enemies after viewing the drills as a military threat. In recent weeks, Pyongyang has launched 7 sets of missiles in response to recent US and South Korea drills. Back with sports news now. Union Berlin defender Paul Jäckel's late goal was enough for the capital club to lead the Bundesliga for the fourth consecutive weekend, with a 1-0 win at Stuttgart on Sunday. Nico Gieselmann delivered a corner that Jäckel headed in off the left post in the 77th to win a game of attrition with few highlights. It was just Union's second shot on target. Stuttgart defender Konstantinos Mavropanos struck the post in response before the home team had forward Serhou Guirassy sent off with his second yellow card for a late challenge on Morten Thorsby's foot. Guirassy apologised to the Norwegian midfielder. Hertha Berlin and Freiburg's unbeaten streaks continued in a 2-2 draw. Hertha stretched its run without defeat in the Bundesliga to 5 games, but is still waiting for its first win at home, and Freiburg is now unbeaten in 10 across all competitions. Champions Bayern Munich are third on 16, following Saturday's 2-2 draw with Borussia Dortmund in fourth place, also on 16. On to the Motor Rally. The 7th annual Rebel Rally began last week as the 4X Adventures duo of Nina Barlow and Terlyn Petteret topped the standings by the end of the first stage. The all-women rally consists of 55 teams from 5 countries and is uniquely the first all-women's off-road navigation rally in the United States. Participants ranged in age between 23 to 74 years of age. The 10-day rally is made up of 8 stages, covering 2,580 kilometers across the hot southwestern states of Nevada and California. The competition rewards precision driving and navigating, and not the fastest overall speeds. Navigating is done without the aid of modern technology, setting drivers and co-drivers up to use the age-old method of maps and compasses. Coming up after this breather, government eases restriction on chicken exports in phases starting Tuesday. Don't go away.
Persahabatan.
Welcome back. Still on Nightline. The restrictions on the export of live commercial broilers will be eased in phases starting Tuesday. Minister of Agriculture and Food Industries, Datuk Seri Dr. Ronald Kiandi, said the restrictions will be relaxed by allowing the export of 1.8 million chickens per month out of the set limit of 3.6 million chickens per month. He said the decision was made following the supply of chickens, which started to stabilise in the third quarter, with an average surplus production rate of 1.8 million birds per month. He also said that each farm has a set export quantity limit based on the planning data and the monthly chicken production projections, which it has to adhere to, adding that non-compliance would lead to the suspension of its export permit. Datuk Seri Ronald also said these exporting farms are not allowed to claim subsidies for chicken production for the export market, which is provided by the government to ensure the availability and continuity of local chicken supply at reasonable prices for Malaysians. At the same time, he said the export ban for round chickens, chicken cuts and day-old chicks remain, adding that Makis will continue to implement physical control at all exits. The flood mitigation project at the Raja Perempuan Zainab II Hospital in Kelantan can improve the level of infrastructure facilities and health services that are more effective and efficient during the flood season. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the project includes several main scopes, namely the construction of concrete fences and drainage, as well as other mechanical and electrical works such as water pumps and flood barrier systems.
Projek yang bernilai 8 juta ringgit telah pun diluluskan di bawah JPS supaya kerja-kerja tembok, kerja-kerja lain yang berkaitan dengan tempatan banjir ini dapat dilaksanakan supaya perkhidmatan hospital di Raja Perempuan Zainab ini tidak akan terganggu sekiranya berlaku banjir, nauzubillah, ataupun sekiranya berlaku bencana di musim monsun timur laut ini.
Khairi said this to reporters after the handing over of the flood mitigation project on Monday. He also said the project took about 30 months to complete and a total of 14 flood barrier fences were constructed to prevent water from entering the hospital area. He noted that this project is the first to be implemented in an existing government facility. According to him, during huge floods in 2014, the hospital was almost submerged because its drainage system could not handle the large amounts of water. Taiwan, the democratic self-ruled island, celebrates its 111th birthday, with thousands of people attending celebrations in front of the presidential office. Let's take a look at the festive celebrations as we wrap up Nightline this time around. With that, I'm Anita. Thank you for watching and have a good week ahead.